This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. I'm your host Duncan and welcome to the show. Up on this episode we are continuing our countdown of the top 20 horror movies of 2024 as selected by this guy. On this episode we are looking at numbers 10 through number 6. This is the penultimate episode in the countdown, and before the month is out, landing on Friday the 31st of January, you'll get the final part of this series when we count down my top 5. Now, there's already 2 videos out there that have already dropped, and they are counting through numbers 20 to 16 and 15 through to 11. So, go and check them out as well, and that way you don't shout at me to say, I can't believe you didn't include this movie, and it's already been captured in my list. That being said, I very much am encouraging you to comment on this video with your thoughts on the movies I selected. Did they land where you would have placed them? Would they have been higher or lower? And are there any movies I'm missing that you think, 1, I haven't seen, or 2, I may have overlooked? So, that is me done my due diligence up front. So let's get right into this, the nitty gritty of this episode. And without further ado, let's talk about movie number 10. Number 10 on my list is Blink Twice. This is written by E.T. Feigenbaum and Zoe Kravitz and directed by Zoe Kravitz. The movie's synopsis as listed on IMDb is when tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at a fundraising gala. He invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality. So, number 10 on my list is Blink Twice, the sort of movie that generally in any other year probably wouldn't even crack my top 20. This is available currently on Amazon Prime, so it's an Amazon Prime. I was going to say exclusive, but I think it may have started off as an exclusive, but you can now watch it on other platforms. But if you've got Prime, it's there for you to go and check it. And the reason I said it probably wouldn't have appeared in previous years is generally this isn't a movie that I would rush out to watch, or I mean, even from the marketing, it wasn't a movie that grabbed my attention. I flung it in as a filler for my 31 of October, and that if I take this movie, and I watched it when I was abroad as well, when I was over in Paris, I was like that, this will be one of these ones I can shove on my iPad. I don't need to be sitting down on my big TV in my nice cinema room watching this one here. I can watch it on the road. I'll kill some time during travel, and it takes another movie for the 31 off. And I found myself completely engrossed, fully captured and locked in for the entire runtime of this movie. Now, I know there's some people out there that are probably going, Duncan, this is not a horror movie. I would disagree. I think in a world where we now know that there are tech billionaires or finance bros that are able to purchase islands and then mistreat, molest and sexually abuse people, and rape them as well, a movie which kind of plays into that through the sphere of kind of body horror thriller like Blink Twice does, makes it a horror movie for me for sure. This is why I love our genre. Our genre can just hold a giant magnifying glass up to things, and people can watch it saying, I mean, that's a really disturbing movie, isn't it? And then you can say, well, it's not that dissimilar to what Epstein did on his island, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. I found the performances in this really, 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 really good. Tons of, like, this has got an A-list cast star. Like Channing Tatum, you've got Christian Slater, Haley Joel Osment's in this movie. Just like a laundry list of people that you're watching going like that. I can't believe they signed on to do this movie, and I'm kind of glad they signed on to do this movie. This would pair really, really well with Assassination Nation if you're like me and you like doing double bills of movies. That the two of these movies together would pair really, 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 really well, and both have kind of awesome crescendos of violence, is the way I would describe it. I found this kind of slick. Also kept me on my toes. I kind of knew where it was going, but then it pulled the rug from under me twice in a way where I thought, oh, that's a smart twist. And then, you know, within 10 minutes, it twisted again in a way which I thought was a really cool development in the plot. So yeah, I found it like really, really, really cool to watch. I've watched it twice. I found it really well acted. It's a breezy watch as well. This is not a long movie. Packs a lot in there. And it's kind of grubby to watch. It's one of those movies that you do kind of feel like you should have a shower after watching, which is never a bad thing when dealing with horror movies in any given year. So yeah, number 10 on my list was Blink Twice. Let's go to number 9. Number 9 on my list is Maxxxine. This is written and directed by Ty West. The synopsis for this movie is listed on IMDb. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxxxine Minx finally gets her big break. But as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. So yeah, number 9 for me is the final part in Ty West's A24 trilogy, which started off with X, then worked its way into a prequel, Pearl, and finally made its way to Maxxxine. Once again, Mia Goth is the kind of main lead actress of this movie and rounds out a kind of third performance overall. Technically 3 distinct performances, although over 2 characters. You could argue 4 distinct performances over 2 characters, but my brain is going to break if I try and do any more math. This is the finale, the grand finale of this movie, which started in the 70s and kind of played with the kind of grindhouse early wave of slasher tropes. Then went into a prequel, which kind of, I don't even know how you would describe Pearl other than awesome. And then ended up with Maxxxine, which is a kind of, the way it was being described as a kind of love letter to Giallo and those kind of Fulci movies like New York Ripper and stuff like that, by way of, I would say a little bit kind of Robert Rodriguez Planet Terror sounded tropes in there, minus all the kind of gooey body horror, but there was a vibe of that movie that kind of flowed through this one, specifically in things like the cinematography. It has a lot of great performances in here. I absolutely adore Kevin Bacon in this movie, and its homage, wink wink, nudge nudge, to Chinatown, as well as all the other homages that you get all the way through this from movies like Psycho onwards. And Mia Goth is brilliant in this movie again, and Ty West once again shows that that time away he had from doing horror movies, I think, just made him a far more interesting director. I think he's come back and captured 3 distinct time frames in a really fun and quirky way in film. Now, I am fully aware that in a previous review, on a previous video, I kind of said that a particular movie that everyone loved, that I thought was alright, kind of fell apart at the end for me. And I know a lot of people have said that about Maxxxine. I kind of ran with the ending and kind of enjoyed it. It was in a way over the top, which the movie kind of demanded, in a kind of tongue-in-cheek sort of way, which kind of dealt with everything from like The Night Stalker, via Satanic Panic, via Hollywood is full of old people that are sucking the life from young people. Like, it plays with a lot of tropes and a lot of cliches without getting lost in any of them. I would say though, overall, Maxxxine is probably, of the three, if I had to order them, I would have Pearl at the top, then X, then Maxxxine. Not a lot in between them in terms of scoring, to be fair, although I think Pearl is the clear best of the three. I found Maxxxine a ton of fun and hugely rewarding as well. So as trilogies go, I think Ty West managed to pull off something kind of remarkable in that he got 3 movies out within 2 years, with a through line which went original, prequel, and then sequel, where the prequel didn't break the original movie and then the sequel flowed on in a natural way. And also kind of broke A24. A24 is not a studio that does sequels or even prequels. And since the release of X and Pearl and Maxxxine, Talk to Me, I think, is now getting either a prequel or a sequel. I can't remember what one, but that's getting worked on. So it kind of looks like A24 are opening the door on that, which I think will be interesting moving forward to see how many of those properties they have released in the past ultimately end up having sequels and beyond. And I kind of like the idea of a director just being given free rein in a short time frame just to knock out 3 movies. There's something very Roger Corman about that, which kind of makes me smile. So yeah, overall, I found Maxxxine a ton of fun. I'm kind of glad that I got a chance to see it in the cinema. It delivered a lot for me, and whilst not the best of the 3, certainly a cool way to conclude the trilogy. So number 9 for me was Maxxxine. At number 8, Strange Darling. This is written and directed by J.T. Molnar, and the synopsis as listed on IMDb is: nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree. Number 8, Strange Darling. This one is great. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I think the reason behind it is it has the non-linear narrative structure, the kind of Tarantino start off at chapter 3 and then we're going to jump back to chapter 2 and then go to chapter 6 and then back to chapter 1, and as a result, as the story unfolds in those chapters, your perception of who is a good character or who is a bad character or where the story is going or what happened before is all muddled up, and it makes a kind of roller coaster ride of a movie. I think if played linear, I don't know how well this story would work. Although I think it would still be satisfying, I don't think it would have the same impact. But it's underpinned by some really, really, really great performances and a kind of cat and mouse level serial killer versus victim versus anyone that gets in their way is likely to die scenario. A little bit of the Hitcher in there as well, just for shits and giggles. And like I say, that kind of over-the-top violence aspect which kind of made me smile. It's a really kind of concise, short, self-contained, really well put together, really well structured and really well acted movie. And another movie that was surprisingly short this year. Not a ton of massive 2-hour opuses on my top 20, but I think that the ones that managed to pack in a lot in that shorter time without feeling rushed are the ones that stood out to me. This one really does rely on the interactions between serial killer and victim in such a way that if any of that is not believable or becomes too farcical, at that point I lose interest. But this one kept me hooked all the way right through for sure. Soundtrack's really fun, and the ending made me smile as well. It's another movie where I felt it stuck the landing really strongly, which might sound like a prerequisite for good cinema, but as you've already heard, some of the movies I've talked already on my top 20 is not something that you're always guaranteed in a movie, which is dealing with the concept that you kind of are familiar with. In the case of this one, it landed in a way which just made me wholly happy that it delivered what it did. So yeah, number 8 for me is Strange Darling. If you haven't checked it out, go please and check it out. It's worth your time for sure. And that will give us time to get ourselves ready for movie number 7. At number 7 is Cuckoo. This is directed by Tillman Singer, who also wrote the movie. The synopsis for this one is listed on IMDb as: a 17-year-old girl is forced to move in with her family to a resort where things are not what they seem. So number 7 is Cuckoo. Yeah, this one is returning director of Luz, a movie that came out, I want to say it was like 2018. It feels like a lifetime ago, which is this kind of small German horror movie which dealt with like spiritual possession, but in a kind of insular police station interrogation reenactment sort of environment. I still think that movie is absolutely nuts, bonkers, incredible, and you should go and check it out. But I was curious to see what it was going to deliver here. This is the other movie that features Dan Stevens. We've already discussed him. We discussed him on Abigail, and I said there would be another one. This is the other one. He's better in this one, if I'm being honest. This is very much a Tillman Singer movie. If you've seen Luz, you'll know what I mean by that. You watch it, and it is absolutely bonkers. Thoroughly out there, hugely entertaining. It has a aura about it which makes it feel very much like a period movie. Like, it kind of feels of its era. This kind of has a kind of late 70s, early 80s vibe all the way right through it. And there's something about the grain in the cinematography that adds to that. But the colour palette of the movie, and also the way characters interact. I can't really give too much away on the plot on this one. Suffice to say, the further it goes on, the more bonkers it gets. And there are moments where you are kind of struck by the surrealism of the movie. There are, like hints, shades of David Lynch in here. Kind of a little bit like Lost Highway at times, where you're watching and going, I'm like, is this character who they say they are? Are we in a dream? Is everything a dream? If we are all in a dream, who is the dreamer? I just kind of loved the way it set itself out. It's another movie that did really, really, really well this year. It performed particularly well in its theatrical run in the UK. I think it did over pretty well for Singer as a director, and I kind of hope we don't have to wait another 6 years for his next directorial output. I had a great cast, wonderful script, and a bonkers story, and that's kind of what I want. This is like one of those ones where I would have felt I would be fighting for a lot harder than I had to this year. Like, a lot of people that I know that I genuinely would have thought wouldn't have liked this movie turned out to really like this movie, and either that means attitudes are changing, or Singer has managed to find a way to crack the code and take Duncan's kind of slightly off the wall, at times slightly arty movies, and make them palatable to a mainstream audience. You decide out there. Highly worth your time. Excellent movie. Number 7 for me was Cuckoo. And the final movie of this episode, number 6, The Coffee Table. This one is written by Cristiana Boberia and Kay Casas. The director is Kay Casas. The synopsis for this one is listed on IMDb as Jesus and Maria are a couple going through a difficult time in their relationship. Nevertheless, they've just become parents. To shape their new life, they decide to buy a new coffee table, a decision that will change their existence. So yeah, number 6 for me is The Coffee Table. I saw this movie way back in 2024, and I believe that it had been doing the rounds on the festival circuit for about a year, maybe a year and a half, before it finally made its way into a kind of medium that we could watch casually in the UK. You can't really go into the plot of The Coffee Table at all in any way, shape or form without giving away massive spoilers. So what I will say is, it is a very low concept idea which ultimately becomes a bizarre combination of very, very dark gallows humour. I've seen some people say it is not a comedy, and comedy subjective. To me, like, there are moments I was very nervously laughing while watching this movie, but it's high tension all the way right through it. Like, every step of this just kind of makes you feel uncomfortable in your skin once the instance that precipitates the entirety of what will be the runtime of this movie kicks into gear. And yeah, it just continues to ramp up until it gets to its very over-the-top, darkly comedic ending. I found this incredibly put together. Like, this to me, I don't know too much about what the director's done in the past, but once again, relatively, for I would say like 95% of the movie is single set location, and it's pretty much following one character, and as a result, you kind of live or die on his performance, and his performance was absolutely brilliant. Just, there's so many setups in this that you just sit there and kind of go, oh no, and you want to just crawl out of your skin and leave the room and come back later on. I got tense all the way through watching it, and like I say, nervous laughter, which I suppose is part of the gallows humour. It's also a part of being able to kind of relieve the tension that builds up while watching the movie. I don't think it was made for a lot of money. I don't know how well it was viewed in 2024, but I will tell you right now, as movies that come from left field that I knew absolutely nothing about until the moment I hit play and run right through to the end and was left with the experience I was, this is one of the best of 2024, in my humble opinion. Take from that what you will and make up your own mind. I can't dictate to you what you should feel about this movie, but at the same time, maybe, just go and check it out. It'll be worth it when you do. So yeah, number 6 for me, and the final movie review of this episode, ladies and gents, it's The Coffee Table, a little Spanish horror movie that will make you just cringe a lot in a really fun way. There you go. That's the final movie review of this episode. Which means, and let me get my list here till I get it right, and number 10 was Blink Twice, and number 9 was Maxxxine, number 8 was Strange Darling, number 7 was Cuckoo, and number 6 was The Coffee Table. We've one more episode left to go in this particular countdown. On the next episode, which will drop on Friday the 31st of January, the last day of the month, you will get my top 5 of the year. You're probably already seen some titles you would expect to have been mentioned, not mentioned yet, which means there's a very good chance that they're making my top 5. I wonder how close you will predict the titles in there. If you're checking it on YouTube, the comment section is open. Let me know what you make of my movies 10 through 6. Did they make your top 20? Were they higher? Were they lower? Or were they just right where I had them? Other titles that I haven't mentioned yet that you're hoping will be in that final episode, or ones that you think you should bring to my attention just in case I haven't seen? Once again, use that comment section. On YouTube, you can like, subscribe and ding the bell, and that way you get notified every time I drop a brand new episode. Also, if you're checking us out on Spotify or Anchor, on their video podcast over there, I think you can leave comments, but you can certainly subscribe, so please do that. And if you're checking out the audio version of this on any of the podcatchers out there available for you, subscribe. You get access to about the 1400 episodes on our RSS feed, but also access to all episodes that will come throughout this year. Lastly, thank you very much for checking out this episode. I'm looking forward to concluding this series with you this week. So until then, wherever you are, what the time zone is, and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from under the stairs, and I am signing off.